Parliament have gathered here today and scrutinized the proposals in the BBI report and its impact on women and women gains in the Constitution of Kenya 2010. This detailed review has revealed that BBI is waging war against the women of Kenya. It takes away the fundamental rights and guarantees of women, especially on the two-thirds gender principle. It negates the ideology of inclusivity upon which the COK 2010 is founded. At a time when Parliament is facing dissolution for failure to enact the necessary legislation to implement the two-thirds gender principle, it is shocking that the BBI, instead of addressing itself to the constitutional crisis brought about by failure to implement the two-thirds, has gone on to remove the principle by creating ambiguity and confusion around the implementation of two-thirds gender rule. The most aggravating of this is the removal of 47 seats for women in the National Assembly, where they had resources including gap and decision-making with regard to budgets. Despite arguing that the implementation of the two-thirds was going to occasion overrepresentation, the BBI has gone ahead to increase the numbers of MPs while giving absolutely no clarity on how the two-thirds gender principle will be attained despite this increase. There is no clear provision for the two-thirds gender principle on the proposed 70 single and multiple member constituencies. The BBI has restricted gender parity to a weakened Senate while ignoring the two-thirds principle in the National Assembly that has been expanded and given more powers. Furthermore, the increased seats in the legislature are meant to control those specific members, as they will be nominated by political parties, and therefore their independence will be constrained. We have seen this practice before. The BBI proposes the expansion to expand the executive, but there is no provision for gender equity within the proposed 5 top seats created in the executive. It also has taken away vetting and parliamentary oversight over executive appointments. The BBI does not mention how the two-thirds gender rule will be achieved in the appointive offices, which include civil service, parastatus, the diplomatic corps, among others. Women are being asked to celebrate BBI proposals for the governors and running mates, which proposes that the governor shall consider a person of the opposite gender. Considering is not compulsion, and therefore the BBI proposal does not guarantee 50-50 gender parity because it leaves it to the discretion of the gubernatorial candidate. It should be noted that BBI proposal makes no such consideration for the executive at the national level. At the county level, where the two-thirds has been attained, the BBI proposes to put a sunset clause by removing Article 177 that provides for two-thirds gender principle in the counties. This effectively contravenes the basic principle of inclusivity that stands in perpetuity as enshrined in the Bill of Rights in Article 27(8). The BBI further proposes to infuse partisanship into the IEBC, negating the principle of its independence. We wish to state that elections are about people and political parties. The IEBC must be free from any political interference to manifest the will of the people in electoral processes. It is also disconcerting that the BBI proposes to create the office of Judiciary Ombudsman. We see this as an attempt to taking away the independence of judiciary. We interpret the proposals at the BBI as seeking to give inordinate power to political party leadership so that they can exercise control over MPs and the registration as a whole. In conclusion, we wish to state that for the women of Kenya, constitutional gains have been a 30-year journey to date. As women leaders, we will not allow for the erosion of work-won women's rights on our watch. We wish to single out those women leaders led by Commissioner Priscilla Nyokagvi of the National Gender and Equality Commission, GEC, who are going around the country lying to women that the BBI contains gains for women. We want to condemn the voices that are closing this process to discussion and further conversations and amendments, as this may leave us with no option but to reject BBI. Those rejecting discussion and consensus building are proponents of us versus them and will plunge this country into unnecessary tension. We are therefore committing ourselves as women to mobilize Kenyans, and especially women, to reject BBI in total.
Yes. We'll hear Kiswahili.
Senator Christine Zawadi, nikiwa nami vile vile ni mmoja kati ya wenzangu ambao tumekaa hapa leo ili kuchambua ile BBI. Na baada ya kuchambua, maana tumeita wale wataalamu wa kuchambua. Baada ya kuchambua tumeona kwamba mwanamke hakuna vile anafaidika na BBI. Kwanza wameondoa wale wanawake 47 kwa kila county ambao kwao sisi tulikuwa tunaona tutakuwa represented, tunawakilishwa vilivyo kwa sababu kuna mmoja wetu pale. Lakini sasa tunaona wamemuondoa yule na wamepeleka Senate, ambao sasa wamepeleka Senate wanawake 47 na wale wengine watakaongeza baadaye. Lakini vile vile tunaona ule muundo ambao wameuleta National Assembly kuchagua wale ambao wanaweka pale. Wanatuambia ni wanawake 70, lakini ukipitishiwa vizuri hakuna guarantee kwamba ni wanawake 70. Tena sisi wanawake wametufanya kama hatuwezi simama wenyewe kama wanawake. Manake utakuta mwanamke akitajwa ndani yake kuna mlemavu, ndani yake kuna kijana. Ambapo mimi naona mwanamume anasimama peke yake na mwanamke anasimama peke yake. Alafu mlemavu awe kivyake na kijana pia naye awe kivyake. Lakini sisi tunachukuliwa kama viumbe dhaifu, ndio maana tunachanganywa pamoja na wale wachache ambao ni walemavu na vijana ambao tunaona ni wengi, lakini wanakuwa included wanachanganywa kwa wao ni kama ni ndani ya mama. Kwa hivyo hapo tunaona hao 70 ukiwe ndani si mama peke yake, mna mlemavu, mna kijana. Kwa hivyo si mama peke yake. Na haijasema kwamba ni mama anachagua, na uchaguzi wake wamesema ni vyama ndio vitaamua hivi, na hatujui ni mipangilio gani ambayo imewekwa kwa hivyo vyama kuchagua hao watu 70. Kwa hivyo hapo sioni mama akiwa amefaidika na hiyo BBI. Na pia vile vile nimeona upande wa governors wamesema kwamba akiwa gavana mume akuwe na mwenzake akuwe deputy wake akuwe mwanamke, lakini sema kwamba ni lazima iwe hivyo, hawajaiweka ikiwa ni lazima. Ni vile mtu atakavyoona. Inaweza kuwa wote wawe wanawake ama wote wawe wanaume, lakini sana sana watakuwa wanaume kwa sababu wanawake tunajidiwa tayari hali zetu, kung'ang'ana na hapo itakuwa ni ngumu. Kwa hivyo hatujafaidika pia hapo kama kuna mama. Kwa hivyo kuna sehemu nyingi ambayo BBI inasema inatupa, lakini upande mwingine inatupokonya. Vile vile wamezungumzia mambo ya county assemblies, kwamba kuna pesa wanapeleka ama kuna pesa ambazo zitatengwa za maendeleo mashinani, lakini tunaona kwamba hizo pesa mpaka sasa zipo. Wabunge wa county assemblies wana pesa, kuna wengine wanapata milioni 60, wengine milioni 20 kulingana na vile mapato yao yako katika county. Kwa hivyo hiyo ni pesa ambayo iko si itapatikana sahihi tukipitisha BBI. Kwa hivyo kwa ukweli ningetamani sana, ningetaka watu waisome BBI, na ikiwezekana kukuwe na watu ambao watakuwa wanaenda mashinani kufundisha watu ili wajue hii BBI inahusu nini hasa. Na mimi nimeona kitu ambacho nimesisitiza sana na ile ambayo inazingatia ni zile nafasi ambazo zinakuwa created pale bunge ama zinabuniwa, kwamba kutakuwa na huyo prime minister, kutakuwa na deputy na hizo zingine zote. Lakini hata hizo nazo hawajatuambia hapo ndani ya hao kutakuwa na kina mama ama ni hao peke yake. Kwa hivyo mwanamke vyake imekuwa ni kama vile vimewekwa, lakini vinangoja kuamuliwa, lakini vingine vishamuliwa tayari. Kwa hivyo mama, kusema kweli, kwenye hii BBI tumemwangalia mama peke yake kwamba hana kitu cha kuhesabu katika BBI. Na mimi naungana na wenzangu kusema hii BBI haitatufaa. Na pia uwakilishi wa kina mama katika county wamepeana miaka 10 peke yake. Kwa hivyo nataka members wa county assembly waisikize hii kwa makini, kwamba mkipitisha BBI ni miaka 10 peke yake. Ikipita miaka 10 msahau mambo ya kunominatiwa, msahau mambo ya kuteuliwa, itakuwa imeisha. Yes.
We wish to just add a bit on what has been said, and I wish to state the following. Having had the benefit of being a member of parliament now for a 4th term, and having been the chair of the Kenya Women Parliamentary Commission in the last term, and I know the struggle it has taken for us to get to where we are as women leaders today. The fact that we have 47 women reps in the National Assembly did not just come by accident. It was hard work. Hard work by the women who were there before us, hard work by the women who came thereafter, and we will not sit here as the women currently in parliament to watch the women gains being eroded one by one. We've seen the risk of leaving ambiguity in constitutions. We've even seen a bigger risk of leaving National Assembly or the Houses of Parliament to determine the process that will be used to make sure women are represented or we achieve the 2/3. 10 years down the line, after the new constitution was promulgated, we still have been unable to achieve the not more than 2/3 gender rule in the National Assembly because the male members of parliament refused to support us in the passage of the 2/3 gender bill. And therefore, this current bill, the BBI bill, leaves even more ambiguity on how the 2/3 gender bill will be achieved. And therefore, unless there's clarity of how the 70 seats will be achieved and exactly the number of women that will constitute the 70, we will not accept to that bill. Yes. Because it leaves another ambiguity, we'll be left fighting, and we know that the most critical house is not even the Senate. Yeah. It is the National Assembly. That is where the budgets are made, that is where we have GAF, and that is where critical issues are discussed. So when you leave ambiguity at the National Assembly level, we do not know how many women will end up being in that house. Surely, we are letting the gains for women be rolled back by a few men who sat down and wrote a document without caring what the women of Kenya wanted. Number 2, it is wrong to lie to women MCAs that they will continue to sit in the county assemblies when you have created a new clause that is setting a sunset clause of 10 years. So what happens in 2032 after 10 years are over? How will we ensure 2/3 gender rule at the county assembly? So we want to also speak to our sisters who are leaders at the county assemblies and tell them there is a problem and you must raise it and you must not blindly pass this bill. And so our condition is simply one: reopen this document for conversation, for debate, for amendment. Otherwise, we will be forced to have no other option but to reject this bill because it is watering down the hard-won gains of women. 2010, when we were asking the women of Kenya to support this bill, the 2010 constitution, we were telling them we are the biggest beneficiaries of that constitution. So what has happened now that those gains are no longer important, and you want us to support a watered down document that takes away what we already have? So we are very clear about that, and we wish to state it. It is not them versus us. It is the women of Kenya speaking as women leaders. It is the women of Kenya demanding that our gains must not be eroded in this constitution. That is what it is. So don't bring other siasa in this conversation. We don't care which political divide you belong to, but don't touch the gains of women.
No women, no
women,
no
BBI.
No women, no gains for women.
No BBI.
No gains for women.
No BBI.
Speaking as the chairperson of Inua Mama Gender Taifa, I want to just capture what my colleagues have said, and I want to start from where Cesc has left. The premises upon which any constitution-making process engages a sector is from the point they were at. That if you had secured some gains, you are either going to engage to expand, promote, or increase those gains. In this particular BBI, the women of the Republic of Kenya are losing. At no time did the 47 women, the majority of the members in this table, are from the 47 women reps. At no time did they send a memorandum or call a press conference or engage the BBI team with the request that they remove 47 seats and purportedly transfer them to the Senate. In the National Assembly, you are talking about resources and budget for the entire nation. Yes. And the 47 women have already prepared for the next re-election, for general election. For you in the BBI to suggest that those seats will be removed, it means you are throwing a big stone against the possibility of these women being elected. And obviously, therefore, you are leaving them with no alternative than to say no, because this is against that. They have worked since 2018, 2017 when they were elected, and now you are saying the seat is not there. The second point I want to discuss is the independence of the judiciary. And my colleagues here have said that the independence of the judiciary appears to be affronted by the BBI, because even today, when you look at 41 judges who have been processed and vetted by the JSC, to date, they have not been appointed, because there is one person who has decided they will not be appointed. When the Naivasha team went to look at the BBI, we had expected the women members of parliament that were there will be able to raise the issues we have raised here. We have engaged with some of them, and they have clearly told us they did not agree with the BBI, the way it is written, in so long as women seats are being affected. Secondly, it is important for His Excellency the President, Uhuru and the Right Honorable Raila
come out clear to the nation, to the women of Kenya, and clearly clarifies how many seats are there in the National Assembly, like the way we know we have 360 seats. Considering that today, those who have been elected from the single member constituency seats is only 23. We want this team to tell Kenyans how many seats are there for women. This issue of there are 70 seats that are not supported by any provision that they will go to women is not acceptable to the women of this country. And we seated here, we are willing and ready to engage. The people rejecting consensus at this stage means that they can see themselves in some of those positions. And you know what? The women don't see themselves anywhere in that document. And therefore, we are saying we are not willing to vote. We shall not vote on this BBI unless provisions clear, guaranteeing and securing the position and space of women is included in the BBI. I think I want to end there, but also say that there is serious concern that even the youth of this country, and I like the position of the Senator Senator Zawadi, that you are clamping, you are putting together women in one basket. Women, youth, and persons with disability. We are not interested in that package. We want the persons with disability to be handled and given their own space because it's their right in the Constitution. We want the youth to be given their own independent space, and we want women because we have fought. These things were not given by anybody. And women are now 52%. Yes. When did it reach that we are being treated in this particular section as second class citizens? No women, no BBI. No women, no BBI.
My name is Janet Sitiene, Member of Parliament. I also want to add my voice to my colleagues. Just one point that BPI as it is just a proposal, it's just a document, a proposal which is not under the law. So there is no reason for the proponents of BPI to say they cannot open a discussion or to input what has been missed out by commission or omission, and we want to ask them that they should open it up. If a constitution, which is the supreme law, can be amended, then what of just a document which is a proposal? They should be able, it can be amended and they can give an opening for discussion by women and the people of this nation so that we can include what they have missed out in the BPI. And I want to support my colleagues on the fact that this discussion must be opened up because there is no way they can remove the 47 members of parliament and put them into Senate to be like flower girls, to be nominated, yet at the county and at the National Assembly, they are elected members from each county. We cannot allow that. No women inclusion, no BBI. No women gains, no BBI.
The proponents of BBI have actually assumed and made the false assumption that Kenyans are foolish and that they're incapable of reading the BBI. The propaganda machine that they are rolling out, lying to the women of Kenya that there is gains for women in BBI is unacceptable. It is shocking that the top leaders in this country can stand on a podium and lie to Kenyans. The facts are very clear. Those who helped develop the BBI report obviously did not undertake a literature review of facts that are within out there in the open space. We all know that no less than 5 court orders have declared that Parliament and the Cabinet is unconstitutional for lack of meeting the 2/3 gender principle. Those pronouncements have been made, and currently Parliament is standing facing dissolution. Now BBI is actually coming to brazen that illegality that has been pronounced by our courts. And BBI further goes on to attempt to pigeonhole women and say we are putting more women in Senate. The National Assembly is the primary legislative organ for oversight, for budget making, and for appointments. We need the voices of women, not only in the National Assembly, within the 1/3 gender principle, but also we need women in Senate, we need women as cabinet secretaries, we need women as PSS, we need women as ambassadors, we need the voice as in state corporations, as directors and chairpersons, and we need women's voices in every space. That is what true equality is. Women must be on the decision-making table across the board. So the proponents of BBI should stop misleading Kenyans and pretending to us. And I want to call out my own women colleagues who have taken it upon themselves to lie to the women of Kenya, led by Priscilla Nyokabi, Commissioner for the National Gender and Equality Commission. In fact, we shall be mobilizing the women to have her impeached for having gone against her constitutional mandate, which she was appointed to do. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think I'm lucky because this is my second day interrogating this BPI, and now that makes me really an authority to comment. I will say two things. First of all, it is so sad when the BBI is supposed to talk about inclusivity, about shared prosperity, about equity, and yet when we went through the document, there is absolutely nothing about those principles. Secondly, this issue, when you look at it from the top, the president is not going to have a running mate. He will elect a vice president or a deputy president after. That tells you that there is no guarantee that a woman will be a deputy president. When you look at the position of a prime minister and a deputy prime minister, they will be elected by National Assembly. The National Assembly, which will not have women. And even if it will have women, quote unquote, it will be a women that is decided by political parties. And personally, where I come from, I represent a region called Pastoralist. We are 108 members of parliament. We had our meeting, 109 yesterday. And our position is clearly, we gave 11 conditions, including the 47 women must be reinstated in the National Assembly. And the issue of party list, we don't conform to parties. We go by the dynamics of our area. Therefore, you cannot say most of our members were elected from small parties, some were independent, so you cannot subject us to a party that is not an issue in our areas. And as I conclude, I want to call out the women, because this agenda was pushed by women, sadly. The women who work in the commission, the women who currently hold positions and affirmative action. So we are saying shame on you, and going forward we will mobilize. And for your information, those of us that are here are not here because of national politics. We are not supporting any political affiliation. We are here as women of Kenya, women leaders.
Nami yangu yatakuwa machache. Nakala za BBI ni chache mno. Tunataka zitengenezwe nyingi iwezekanavyo. nakala hizi ziandikwe kwa Kizungu na Kiswahili na zifike mashinani ili watu waweze kujisomea na watu waache kudanganywa na kudanganyika. Let's argue from a point of knowledge, and we want simplified copies huko mashinani. Thank you.